nearly has that graviton surge. Ready to go now, and they've got the Dragon Hole combo. Dragon Strike coming in on top of that graviton surge, probably in the near future here.
Oh, one fact actually gets up into the upper halls, so...
Very annoying here. Oh boy, that's attack visor from behind. It's going to cause an immediate sound barrier to be used by Meta Athena. Here's the combo they're looking for. Libero throws it in. That's 3 with the Dragon Strike. Gets another
nice
one.
Flick!
Oh!
Beautiful, beautiful Hanzo play.
Wow.
The flick onto the Diva and the immediate 180.
So you want to be a Pro Hanzo. What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch, and today we're going to be breaking down some Pro Hanzo footage. Now, typically with these pro guides, we focus on one pro player on their signature hero, but Hanzo is a bit more of a niche pick. So in today's video, we're actually going to show footage from 4 different pro players who frequent Hanzo to great success. We'll see appearances by Libero, Mendo, Taimu, and Flower as we dissect what makes them so good. In today's video, we'll break down the playstyle, positioning, and team comp approach of teams that utilize Hanzo, get a few good examples of his sonar arrow and scatter arrow, and then finish up by feasting our hungry dragons on some Hanzo WOMBO combos. Yes, the ultimate stack. First things first, let's talk about where to use Hanzo and how to set up around him. Pro teams frequent using Hanzo exclusively on attack for his powerful burst damage potential. The most iconic places he's used is on tight claustrophobic maps like Hollywood First or King's Row. This allows for him to get very good usage of all of his skill sets. And at least for my money, the most successful Hanzo team comp is what I'm going to call the Protect the President playstyle. Typically in the 3-2-1 triple tank lineup, you would see a soldier, but replacing the soldier for the Hanzo pick may drop your sustained damage, but instead increases your burst damage potential. And when you get your triple tanks engaged in a brawl in the front, keeping the attention off of the Hanzo, you make him enough space to be able to hit his headshots and scatter arrows to almost guarantee that you're going to get a kill. Remembering that a lot of times in these maps on attack, all you need is that first early pickoff in order to gain man advantage and snowball from there, if not winning based upon having closer respawns alone. As we'll watch later, we'll see that this team comp works well to set up a dangerous ult stack with the Zarya, but as well, Recon Arrow can paint targets on the map for a Roadhog to exploit with his hook, which can create openings for either the Roadhog or the Hanzo to be able to find early pickoffs. Now let's look at an example of this Protect the President playstyle comp, keeping in mind where the tanks engage, where the Hanzo is positioned, and why it ends up working when it does eventually work. Well, the 3 meaty tanks are really good at brawling. Both the Roadhog and the Zarya are really excited to get engaged into the fight. That's where they want to be fighting. With that being the case and being up in the front line, it almost causes that the enemy defense is going to have some sort of dive presence to stop the Hanzo, who wants to just be sitting behind the action as much as possible to be able to just pepper in damage. Headshots are great, but really the big burst of damage from the Hanzo arrows, even to the body, can really be significant. Playing Hanzo this way kind of treats him as the main DPS, as in, he isn't solely looking for duels here, though if you can find it on the enemy team's DPS, that's where you're going to get your biggest value. But really, this multi-tank allows for him to just be able to have a feast of targets in front of him, which you normally would see with a soldier, but putting the Hanzo in this position actually increases the amount of lethality that you can have. You're actually going to be able to see more damage productivity from this slot instead of having the soldier here, as long as the Hanzo can hit his shots, of course. Let's watch this opening fight for NRG on King's Row in overtime against East Wind. Here, Mendo is setting up on top of the statue here, avoiding damage altogether and raining damage from afar. The enemy team East Wind decides that they want to make a counter-engage through the hotel around the backside, but then unfortunately they miss the Roadhog hook on Mendo, and he's able to respond with 2 swift headshots to Squishy's heads, guaranteeing that this fight is won for the Hanzo's team. This is the incredibly scary burst potential that a Hanzo player can employ, and it isn't always just getting sick headshots. Having the ranged burst damage presence can be enough, when you keep in mind that most other ranged characters have damage drop-off where Hanzo does not. Earlier on this map, on their first attempted attack, they're actually in a full disengage after their Tracer gets picked off early, but the Hanzo's able to land 2 very carefully aimed body shots to the enemy team's soldier, who's debatably one of their best defending characters. With the soldier dispatched, there's not really enough damage on the East Wind side to be able to punish the incoming attack, therefore guaranteeing a 0.1 take. Later on in the same map, Mendo finds himself in the back lines of his own team comp, safe from all damage, and as the fight re-engages, a scatter arrow finds McCree taking out one of the most high-impact targets on the enemy team. The most important kill in any team fight is the first one. and getting it on the enemy team's DPS while all of your characters are still alive will always put the enemy team at a massive disadvantage. And a character like Hanzo has the ability to get his damage exactly where he wants it. At the start of this engagement, Flower is lurking on the top of the engine room, glances down and sees the enemy soldier, who attempts to run away, but with a very carefully landed scatter arrow, removes him completely. This early pickoff is actually massive because the enemy team, Lunatic High, actually have an ultimate advantage, and Nano Sights could potentially have stopped this push coming from LW Blue. The battle rages on and ultimates are exchanged back and forth, but being down a player, Lunatic High struggles. The action fizzles out, and with the help of his Zenyatta, he's able to get a crucial body shot to finish off Who Are You. Zoning ultimate keeps Lunatic High from contesting the point, they push the cart in, and he uses Scatter Arrow again to get some reliable damage to finish off Eska once again. The scary part about utilizing Hanzo is that his damage is fairly unreliable. Shooting projectiles can feel a bit of a coin flip sometimes, but Scatter Arrow is the key to Hanzo consistency, and pro players are the best at this. Using Scatter to finish off a wounded opponent, or lurking in the wings of a high angle, you can pop Scatter Arrow down at the feet from a very far away range target, so it bounces up at an angle to get an instant kill pickoff. I showed examples of this working, but it's important to note how squishy a character like Hanzo is. If your team doesn't utilize strong Overwatch fundamentals, making sure that you keep your tanks engaged and taking all the damage up front, and for some reason Hanzo's taking damage in this comp, you can start to see how fragile he really is. Hanzo's among one of the slowest, easiest to hit hitboxes in the entire game, and a lot of characters can feast on him at close range, unless he hits an insane shot himself. So you don't really want to be putting your Hanzo in that situation if you can help it. Another game on King's Row. Now we're watching Taimu for Envious, playing again in this Protect the President strategy with triple tank. We'll see him utilize Sonic Arrow to be able to predict the incoming flanks coming from the incredibly aggressive Rogue team. This early recon arrow placement is massive and catches Soon trying to come up on the flank from the theater side, setting up for an easy hook and insta-kill from his Roadhog teammate. Remember, Sonic Arrow actually lasts for 10 full seconds, not just for the animation time for when it shows where it's blooming out from. After Envious takes point 1 quite easily, we'll see Taimu once again setting up to look out for the counter engage coming from Rogue through the halls, and how he uses Sonic Arrow to predict Rogue's incoming defensive halls push. Blink and you'll miss it. Taimu starts to turn and actually sees a glimpse of the enemy team's Tracer being painted by a Sonic Arrow once again. This helps him become ready for the incoming push. This time it doesn't net in an insta-kill, but it gets the information to Envious that this counter-engage is coming. This gives time for his friendly Lucio to taxi him back, and for him to set up in a close-range environment to be able to duel the Tracer with the help of his Ana player, who lands a few crucial healing shots to stave off this enemy push. Anytime you can create a situation where your DPS player can kill the enemy team's DPS player, you're on your way to winning Overwatch team fights, which win Overwatch matches. Though on paper you could say that Tracer is a great character to battle a Hanzo, Sonic Arrow is a tool that Hanzo's able to use to be able to see Tracer's attacks coming. For my money, Soon is the best Tracer in the entire world, and Envy used this strategy to be able to take them out on King's Row. Now granted, if the Tracer has more open space on different maps, it's much more difficult to execute this strategy, but in the tight corridors of King's Row, Hanzo reigns supreme. Now for the final section of the video, the big, bad, dual dragon Hanzo WOMBO combo. The Graviton Dragon Strike is a big team wipe ultimate, and pro teams utilize it to be able to close out some of the most difficult checkpoints in the entire game. So really, most of the strategy comes down from how do you get your Zarya in place to land the Graviton appropriately. You could try to be crafty on a bit of a small flank, or you can utilize Speed Boost to quickly pounce into the enemy's face while they're still relatively close up together before they have time to react and spread out. Either way though, as the Hanzo player in this situation, you do have to carefully aim your dragons. And keep in mind how long the Graviton has lasted before you press Q. It takes a little bit of time for the dragons to get there, so if you don't react quick enough, the enemy team will be able to scatter away out of the Graviton before the dragons finish them off. With that being the case, it's great if you're able to find an angle where the Dragon Strike traps them against the wall or in a corridor anyway, which map like King's Row has many of. But if not, it's always best to aim directly at the center of the grav so the twisting flying dragons can meet their mark. Either way though, even if part of the Dragon Strike combo misses, having the enemy team stuck together is a pretty good way for Hanzo to find easy headshot kills, if not scattering directly into the Graviton himself. A couple things to look out for: an enemy team's Zenyatta ult can equalize this effect, or an incredibly well-timed sound barrier can minimize the effects of the dragon as well. However, there is a threshold that you can surpass on Zenyatta's Transcendence healing that you could out DPS it in theory. Same thing, of course, with Sound Barrier. So pounce on those Dragon Strike opportunities and make sure you follow through to be able to get those big team wipes. Well, that's it for today's Pro Hanzo guide. I hope from breaking down some of the most proficient Hanzo players, you were able to pick up a few tips to improve your play with the bow-wielding badass. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, and you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Don't miss a Your Overwatch video. They don't always go to sub boxes, so be sure to check our channel often because we upload every day. Link in the description, you can check out our Twitch page, our Twitter, and our Discord server where you can interact with our community and find teammates to pair up with. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.